Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell, and this is once again coming from my apartment for one of the last times in 2016. The year, as of now, ends in about 2 hours and 30 minutes. And so, let's get these videos out and talk about what I thought was the top 10 best films of 2016. I will also, as you can probably guess, be doing a top 10 worst films of 2016 video, which will come out hopefully shortly after this one does. And then myself and James DeSantis, who you might remember from other videos I've done in the past, we talked about our top 10 most anticipated films of 2017. I picked 5, he picked 5, and we just talked about some films. So just be on the lookout for those as they come out. We also talked about some of our favorite films of the year and worst films of the year on his channel, so I'll put links of all that stuff in the description down below as they are released. Now, obviously, I have to preface this by saying, obviously, I did not see every single thing which came out this year. I still have 2 movies that I'm planning to see probably tomorrow, maybe, I don't know. And that would be Fences and Lion. Both are 2 films which, for all I know, could have been on this list, but they are not because I did not get around to seeing them, and so I will see them eventually, just not right now. And so there are a number of other films which I did not end up catching. I think I caught most of the good ones, but there are also going to be things that I missed, things that you thought were great which are not on this list. So make sure after you watch this video, comment below what your thoughts on 2016 were, what your favorite films were, and let me know. And before we get started, I also want to touch on some honorable mentions that I have which did not quite make this list, but I thought were still very well-made films and still things that you should definitely check out. That would be The Boy and the Beast, The Jungle Book, and Hunt for the Wilder People. All 3 I thought were really good films and things which you should definitely check out if you have the opportunity. But now, let's start out with my number 10 film of the year. Number 10 is easily going to go to 10 Cloverfield Lane. This is a film which debuted its trailer about 2 months before the film actually came out, which is a huge rarity these days with films of this sort. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who I had previously only seen in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, stars in this film alongside John Goodman, and it's just such a tension-filled film because despite the fact that it's set within the Cloverfield universe to some extent, we also have the fact that it's got this psychological mystery to it, in that you have John Goodman's character telling everyone, oh hey, the world has ended and so you cannot go outside, but at the same time you have no way of really proving that, and so it's a question of if this is just him trying to keep these people here and hold them hostage for something, or if the world has actually ended and he is trying to keep them as safe as possible. We don't really know, and it's such a well-made movie and something which was easily one of my favorite films when it came out and is still held up throughout the year. And so 10 Cloverfield Lane, definitely check this thing out if you haven't seen it. It's my number 10 choice of the year. No top 10 list would be complete without a Marvel film on it, and so Captain America Civil War is my number 9 choice. This film had a lot going for it, despite the fact that it's the biggest climax that we've had within the Marvel Cinematic Universe thus far, with Captain America's forces going up against Iron Man, and this huge conflict which basically comes to a head in the airport fight scene, and then again at the very end of the film, which captures the scene from the comic with Iron Man's blast going up against Captain America's shield. It's just such an iconic movie, very well made, and really just takes all the essences of these characters and histories that we've had with them in the past 10-ish films, and just they all come to a head. And just the conflict between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers is just very well done, very well played out, and really sets the course for what we are to expect with the remainder of Phase 3 and going into Infinity War. So, Captain America Civil War, I hoped that would be higher on this list. It was my top film of the summer, but it ended up number 9 on this list, but it was still really, really good. Number 8 on this list is going to go to Zootopia. Now, despite being a Disney film, which I generally almost always love, it deals with issues which adults can relate to and kids can enjoy. The characters are extremely fun to deal with, especially the chemistry between the bunny and the fox, whose names escape me since I haven't watched it for a while. But it's just such a fun movie, very well done movie. And again, has conflicts which both adults and kids can relate to, which a lot of animated films this year did not have. Which, I mean, they're fine as films, but they did not have the spark that Zootopia had for me. And this is the only animated film that I'm going to have on this list, and it was my favorite one of the year. And so Zootopia is my number 8. Number 7 on this list is The Witch. This was a film which creeped the hell out of me when I saw it. It takes place during the 1600s in America, which is basically still surrounded by wilderness, and there are very few settlements, and just stories of the supernatural, primarily involving witches, just flooded the minds of people during this time. Any weird thing which happened, they blamed on witches or just blamed female people who they thought were witches. And it's just a very bad time to be in America. And despite the creepiness and the fact that this was Anya Taylor-Joy's basically jumping off point, which got her into Morgan, which I loved as a film, and then also January Split, which I'm really looking forward to. This was a film which really captured the essence of what it was to be in this situation during this time period, because a lot of the story was based on diary entries and journal writings of people during this time period who actually believed that witches were real, and just the histories of things which they wrote about, with like the Salem witch trials and other things which happened in smaller areas. And just the fact that it's so history based and has such a creepy element, it just really fascinated me and made me really enjoy this film. So The Witch is easily my number 7 choice. Number 6 on this list is a film which has not come on Blu-ray yet, so I can't show it, but it is Arrival. This film stars Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner in the 2 lead roles. It's an alien invasion film without it being an alien invasion film. And that's something which is very tough to do. And it's a film which really captured my attention because it was ultimately about language and how important it is to understand that. Because I'm assuming most people have seen it by now, so I'm going to go into a little bit of the plot specifications. But the idea of the film is that Amy Adams is a linguist who is trying to figure out why these aliens are here and try to communicate with them, and that's what the majority of the film deals with, is them trying to figure out how to communicate with these aliens, figure out their language, and figure out what it means in English. And it's just a very interesting film because it's nothing that I've really seen before in a film, and really just showed the power of language and just how important it is, especially in huge crisis situations such as war, and it's just interpreting things in the correct way that they're meant to be interpreted. So Arrival, very good film, one of the best of the year, and my number 6 choice. Now we're in the top 5, and number 5 on this list is going to Anthropoid. This film takes place in Czechoslovakia during the early parts of World War II, and the general idea of the film is that these 2 British soldiers drop in, and their goal is to take out Hitler's third in command. But obviously, you take out Hitler's third in command, there are going to be severe consequences, and people will die. And that's something which the film focuses on immensely in this film. It's not just, oh hey, take out this guy and everything's going to be hunky-dory for the rest of the war. No. It's going to be huge ramifications, and people will die as a consequence of this. Is it for the greater good? That's debatable, and that's what this film really focuses on. Jamie Dornan stars in it alongside Cillian Murphy, and they both do fantastic in their roles, and it's just a very tough film to watch, especially in the last 30 minutes, because you end up seeing what happens leading up to this operation, the operation itself play out, and then the after effects of it. And it's very tough to watch at some points, and the ending is one of the few films this year which left the audience silent and still when the credits started rolling. And that's a really powerful film in my opinion. And so Anthropoid, see this thing if you have the opportunity. It's so good, and it's my number 5 choice of the year. Number 4 on this list has to go to Captain Fantastic. Captain Fantastic is a film which stars Viggo Mortensen in it. He is raising his He's raising his 6 kids in the wilderness, and he is basically teaching them to be genius level kids, basically defending their opinions in an articulate and critical way, and making them just really smart people while also having immensely complicated survival skills. They're able to hunt with bow and arrow, hunt their own food, build houses, build tents, build shelter. They can survive in the wilderness, and they're genius people, but they're just not suitable for the outside world and dealing with social situations, which is the only thing he can't teach them. And so this film really explores the reason behind teaching kids in a very honest way in this type of situation which develops, as well as dealing with loss. And it's just a very complicated film. Viggo Mortensen, again, does a fantastic job in it. It's the first thing I've seen him in a very long time. It's a film that's really just stuck with me ever since I saw it over the summer. And yeah, I think that says something huge about the quality of it. And so, Captain Fantastic, my number 4 choice of the year. It's incredibly good. Definitely check this out. My number 3 choice is another film which I have not owned on Blu-ray yet because it's not available on Blu-ray yet, and that is Hacksaw Ridge. Andrew Garfield stars in this war film which deals with the Hacksaw Ridge battle which took place and during World War II, and he does a fantastic job in it. On top of Andrew Garfield, it also has Teresa Palmer in the movie. She also does a very good job, redeems herself for the choice earlier this year, and yeah, it's just a very powerful film. It starts out, granted, a little bit slow with its first introduction and the debate of, oh hey, I don't want to use a gun because it's against my religion, and oh hey, you have to use a gun because you're going into a war. And so that part, I thought was captivating, although it is a little bit slow, grant you. But once the war takes place, you get to see just the brutality that Mel Gibson directs in this thing, and it is not a pro-war film whatsoever, in my opinion, because you just see people getting taken down left and right, and the grotesqueness of it, and it's just a very powerful film to watch, one that I was just captivated by from the beginning to the end. I really love this film, and so Hacksaw Ridge, my number 3 choice of the year. Now, these last 2 films I went back and forth in my head on for quite some time because I had one of them at the top for the majority of the year, honestly. And then this other film came out, and it's like, it might be a little bit better. It ended up being a little bit better. But my number 2 choice of 2016 is Sing Street. Is a film which I absolutely loved from the first day that I saw it in theaters to the multiple repeat viewings that I've done of this thing since it came out on Blu-ray. It takes place in the 1980s in Dublin, Ireland, and it really just focuses on a kid finding himself, finding his passion, and using that in music. I'm a huge advocate for music, and so whenever it's in a film, I tend to enjoy said film. And just the different aspects that he decides to dive into, the different genres that were present in that time period. It's just very, very cool to see because he starts out doing this band to win the heart of a girl, which he ends up falling for. And you just get to see their relationship evolve over the course of the film, and it just feels very, very real. It has a very fun prom sequence, which was easily my favorite scene of the film. And the music is something which I've listened to repeatedly over the last couple months, ever since I've seen it. And it's something which I will always go back to because it's just such fun stuff to listen to. And so, yeah, Sing Street, easily one of my favorite films of the year, but there's only one film which beat it out for me that year, and that is Hell or High Water. I don't think this film got nearly the credit that it deserved this year. I don't think it made the money that it needed to this year. But needless to say, it is a damn good film. It stars Chris Pine and Ben Foster and Jeff Bridges in the lead roles, and focuses on just these 2 guys doing bank robberies. That's how we start out the film, and that's all we know until just more and more details as to why they're doing what they're doing come to light, and you do eventually root for these guys who are robbing banks. And the fact that the film is able to cause you to root for the villain, or I guess villains, of this film is a very cool thing, and I really respect films which are able to do that, which will make you see the side that they're taking and advocate for it. And you also have Jeff Bridges' character and his partner, their storyline, which eventually, as you can guess, conflicts with Chris Pine and Ben Foster's storyline, as they're sheriffs, they're robbers. You can guess that they're going to clash eventually. Just the result of that and what ends up happening as a result of that conflict just made the rest of the film extremely tension-filled and made for one of the best endings to a film this year that I've seen thus far, because it's one of the few things which you just don't know what is going to happen. It could go multiple different ways in regards to just how this whole thing seems to be playing out. And it had one of the more satisfying endings of the year, and was easily my favorite film of 2016. I could not give it to anything else, and I would watch this film 20 times over anything else. So guys, those are my top 10 films of 2016. It was a good year for films for the most part. It did have a lot of stinkers though, and I'll get to those in my top 10 worst films of 2016, which I'll probably be filming right after this one. So I look forward to that in the coming hours or days whenever I get it up. And let me know your list once again in the comments down below. Let me know what you thought was the best films of 2016. Did you agree with my list? Did you think that something should have been on it which was not? I left a lot of things off which I really did enjoy, but there's only room for 10, and so I had to put the 10 things which I really enjoyed the most of this year. Also, make sure you check out my videos that I did with James DeSantis. Links for those are in the description once they come out. We filmed some of our thoughts on the top 10 best and worst films of the year. And then I also did a video of our top 10 most anticipated films of the year, which will go up on this channel. Again, link in the description down below when that goes out. But guys, thank you once again for a fantastic 2016. I look forward to seeing you again with a slightly different look of this channel, which I'll get to later, in 2017. And so make sure to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. And as always, people, my name is Pell, and once again, keep on watching.